in the screen, and we made it finally. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you both. Yeah.
Well, let's just start, hey? I mean,
Yeah.
can you turn the volume off? Is it possible? Are you watching also live on Facebook or? Probably not. Maybe it's mine. I'll double check. No, it's fine. It's perfect. It's perfect. No, it's
all right.
Fine. It's working.
No way.
We're on it.
No. Yeah.
Okay. One thing. Just a quick intro to Paul Pritchett. He is a Brit. Grew up around Manchester. And the first kind of like real experiences he had, which was a kind of real adventure, was with his mother hill walking in Scotland. Paul, can you briefly kind of tell people what was that real kind of the real deal for you with your mother?
No, well, I mean, with my mum. My mum and dad were going through this really messy divorce, and so it was just me and my mum going hill walking, but there was this one particular time on the Isle of Arran, which is well, it's near Glasgow, but you climb up this mountain. And then it was. I'd never seen rock climbing before, and it was like we had to do this graded rock climb, but I mean it was really easy, but we had to cross these steps. We had to reverse climb down this graded rock climb, and that was my first. That I was 11 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience of just kind of being freaked out and being and yet freedom that comes with being with fear. Yeah. And so it's like, and I've never lost that feeling.
Was that like the first taste of something you felt like you wanted to eat more of it?
Exactly. Yeah. And since then I saw these scratches on the rock, and I had got this book from the library as well, because we used to go hill walking all the time. So I did have an interest in the mountains, and so I got this Chris Bonington book and Annapurna South Face out of the library, and so I knew that these scratches were from crampons, and it was just like this really special moment for a child, you know. Yeah.
I mean, it's such an interesting story, because I mean a lot of people I've actually interviewed have had a connection through their family and through their parents, you know, and it's a funny thing because when I kind of look back at my kind of having to do things with my parents, it was always it was a slow moving drama, but for you it was a fast paced kind of kick in the ass.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and then. From then on, well, my parents split up, and I was just living with my mum, and I remember I was 14 years old, getting absolutely wasted on whiskey and drugs and I was an arsonist as well. So I was I was like I was a really bad lad, and And well, I guess, and then my physics teacher at the time
Yeah.
was a climber and took me climbing, and I never looked back. It was the first time that I was good at anything, and I was quite good straight away, and I realised that I'd found my vocation, I guess you call it.
Well, you felt like empowered, I suppose. You know, you felt like this is something you really wanted to do, huh?
Yeah, and my whole other life was falling apart, and this was like this one thing that I could focus on.
I mean, we're going to talk about a few things today. I mean, obviously, like you were definitely one of the best climbers a few years back, and then some fate struck you in the head, on the head, through the head.
Yeah.
You kind of you lost a lot of blood on the Totem Pole in Tasmania. Can you explain to people what the Totem Pole is like? Just what feeling do you get when you see that thing?
Well, what about if I kind of take you through my accident?
Yes, yeah, let's talk about this. Why not?
Just briefly. I mean,
Yes.
maybe, I don't know how many people are watching this, about 3 or something. But,
About 5,000.
yeah, but anyway, I'm just I was with my girlfriend Celia Bull, and it was a different place down there back in, it was in 1998, and so we were trying the second free ascent of the Totem Pole. It had only had this one free ascent by Steve Monk, and so that was in 1995. So we were, and well, we got there, and we got down to the base of it. Oh no, we got there, and there was a rope across to the summit of the Totem Pole, and apparently these people had been filming, and it happened to be my mate. I didn't even know that he was down here, but my mate from Wales, a filmmaker called Alan Hughes, and he was filming the first Welsh guy up Everest called Caradog Jones.
Yeah.
And he climbed up it, kind of kind of whatever with it, but they left this rope in place, and so we thought that we would avail ourselves of this, and instead of abseiling down this crumbly headland, we would go down this wave blasted piece of rock. And so we get to the summit of it, and we could feel it swaying in the wind. It's like, because it's amazingly slender. I mean, 4 meters wide and 65 meters high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we abseiled down it, or I abseiled down it all the way to the bottom, and then I was only there for don't know, 3 minutes, stood on this slippy rock in this kind of gulch, and the wind, this wave just came and soaked me wet right up to the chest, and so I knew that I couldn't climb the first pitch free then. So I asked Celia to come down to the belay ledge. The climb is 2 pitches long, separated by this ledge, and so she came down to the ledge, tied off the rope. I clipped my Juma clamps onto the rope and just about to jug 30 meters up to this ledge, but the rope flicked this rock off out of a crack, and it's probably the only loose rock on the totem pole, and it was about the size of a laptop computer, and it scythed into my skull. It was silent, so I didn't see it coming or hear it coming, and so the next thing I knew, I was upside down in hanging from a rope 1 meter above the sea, with blood pissing out of my head. Then the next thing I knew, Celia was by me, and she'd abseiled down to me. She'd got me upright in slings. She put her helmet on me. I wasn't wearing a helmet. Kind of, I never did in those days for rock climbing. Then she had to then jug back up to the ledge, and she had to haul me. It took her 3 hours to haul me up to the ledge. But she, if you imagine, she's hauling me on a table, and I've got to the top. I've got to the edge of the table, and the knot stuck on she just couldn't get me onto the ledge, and so that's the first time that I noticed, oh my God, I've done something really horrendous to myself. I couldn't move my right arm or my right leg. They're like pieces of wood, and so that's I realised that I fucked myself up here, and eventually I managed to get myself onto the ledge, and Celia made me safe. I just lay down bleeding to death, basically. I mean, and she then climbed up the totem pole up to the top again, where we still had a rope in place. She went across this Tyrolean, and then she then had to run 8 kilometers for help. She thought that she just looked back at me and thought, it's the last time I'm going to see this. I'm going to see my partner alive. And 6 hours later, no, 5 hours later, a helicopter arrived, but it's too difficult for a simple winch rescue, so the guy had to, the paramedic had to land and run across to the totem pole, to the headland, and go across the Tyrolean, abseil down to me on the ledge, and then lower me, or abseil down with me. He clipped me into his harness and abseil down with me into a waiting boat. But the sea was so rough, it was going up and down 2 meters at the base of the pole. So on the upsurge, the paramedic had to cut the rope, and we both fell into the boat. It was quite exciting. And then
you still felt some excitement at that time, yeah.
Well, I was kind of still going in and out of consciousness. I wasn't completely conscious, you know. But I'd lost half my blood. But anyway, that's the long and short of my accident.
I mean, it's incredible because if you, I mean, this is something, you know, when I talk to climbers, for example, trying to push into an autonomous like energy state, you know, I mean, Celia that day, good Lord, I mean, hauling a body up, like 30 meters,
Yeah.
and then running all the
It,
way, and still being able to kind of keep the energy level. It's just incredible. I mean,
she was, she was, she was. I don't know what. She just was so special that day. Yeah. Thank you, Celia, if you're watching.
yeah. And thanks, Celia, for saving Paul's ass so we can talk to him today. So it's great. After that, you obviously had a long, hard recovery road. I mean, because of the injuries and the neurological kind of like stuff, which has been also with you the rest of your life, hasn't it?
Yeah. So the exciting thing about a brain injury is that you never stop getting better. So I had my accident over 21 years ago. 10 years went by, and I was getting better for the whole of that 10 years, and then you're expected to plateau. Oh, that was the old thinking, but in the last kind of 15 years, I think the thought has become more and more that you, with this whole neuroplasticity thing, that you never stop getting better. So even for the last 10 years, I've been getting more movement. I've been able to I mean, it's very, I mean, obviously it's very small and incremental, but I've been able to raise my foot, for instance. Probably started about 10 years ago, and every year I've been finding that I've been able to raise it about a millimeter more, my right foot. It's called dorsiflexion. So now I can actually like raise my foot maybe a centimeter, which means that I don't fall on my face and break my nose as much as I did previously. You might notice that I've got a black eye, but that's nothing to do with falling on my face.
Is that domestic violence because you had lockdown as well?
I'm not allowed to talk about domestic violence, but no, it's my partner.
She had a laughing in the back.
In the
Yeah, I could tell.
No,
You bastard, Pritchett!
Oh no! She's calling me a bastard, don't she? Oh,
She's
no,
she's coming with the broom. Fucking hell.
No, I was fast asleep and suddenly I felt this massive pain in my eye and she was getting back into bed and elbowed me. But yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the burden.
Anyway,
that's the burden of sharing a bed, huh?
Yeah. Oh no, I can't remember where I was now. Where was I?
It's okay. We were talking about domestic violence and your beautiful wife kind of just telling you that you should be aware of what you say. Cheers.
Yeah.
I'm actually listen. It's I actually also got one. So.
No.
Yes.
We both got Lefroy.
Yeah, but you probably got the good one. I got the cheap one, the quarter cask. And actually, everybody. See, the Ride is drinking Lefroy, the 10-year-old. I only have the quarter one.
I thought quarter cask was a superior. No, I think that might be. I think that might be like the stuff.
Listen, Paul, I got no fucking idea about whiskey. I just drink it.
I mean, I'm drinking 10-year-old, but I know that the best whiskey that I've ever tasted was 18-year-old Lefroy. It was just beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's
Anyway.
move on. Let's move on. I mean, what I can kind of see or what I've kind of observed, and this is just an observation. This kind of event on the Totem Pole did change your life, and looking at you now and observing you sometimes, you know, like going on a trip with your 13-year-old son to the Himalayan Mountains, you know, it seems that you developed into a total different being, and I'm really glad to have you on the show because first of all, I think, and I don't know, you know, I didn't know you beforehand, but I can guess that you're a very humble being, you're very honest, and you don't seem to have a problem with your stigma for, you know, to kind of tell people what's going on, that you just fell on your nose sometimes, break your nose, that, you know, this is such a nice thing, I think.
No, it is. Thank you. I mean, thanks a lot, Wolf. Yeah, don't know what to say, but I did learn so much through nearly dying, and but also the pain. I mean, every day I probably fall over at least once. I mean, I'm totally shocking on my feet. So I still go climbing, but hardly, you know, maybe like I go to the climbing gym once a week, or I did do before this lockdown thing, and but you know, one arm climbing with only really one leg as well. It's like it's not. It's more. I do it more for the challenge now because it's not very enjoyable. It's not. You know. It's not. It's not poetry. It's not the kind of poetry and athleticism that I was used to back in the day when I was climbing at Gogarth, and so it's more just for the challenge, and I have had to adapt my whole life, and I've had to reinvent myself and think of new things to do, and so I've one of the things which I'm really passionate about now is tricycling. So I've got this recumbent trike, and I go on these big kind of trike expeditions. You know, the kind of I did one from Lhasa in Tibet to Kathmandu, in Nepal, via Mount Everest Base Camp, and the last one I did was from the lowest point to the highest point in Australia, kind of over 45 days. And I really like that because cycling's good for me. It doesn't hurt my joints, and my knee extends with every step. So I can't walk very well, but I can cycle. Yeah. I mean, having said that, I can't walk very well. I did just climb, as you said, this Himalayan peak with my son, didn't I? I mean, that was like that and that. But that was more for my son and more for my boy, and I did endure an awful lot of pain for that, you know.
But I mean, the idea of pain as an option for, you know, illness, grief, loss, as an option for growth is really, I think, embedded in your life.
No, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Good point. I mean, I must say that every day for the past 21 years has involved some kind of absolute pain, and it's and so you've got to become comfortable with that. um, and some of this pain, some of the experiences I've had whilst being in great pain have been so transcendent that it's. I mean, I think that that pain is what brings us all together, and so it makes us. It actually makes us. It's one of the only things we got in common is the ability to feel pain. And so it is actually the great kind of leveler. Is it called? I mean,
Yeah.
We all know pain. We're all going to go through pain at some point in our lives, and if we learn to accept pain and I mean, fear is a pain as well, and death is a pain, and is probably the ultimate pain. And so if we can learn little pains, we might be able to cope with our own demise. I don't know. I mean, it's not a fun thing, not a fun topic to talk about, is it? But I mean,
Well, we don't care. It's okay.
but it's a profound, and it's the biggest topic, really, isn't it? You know. It all. I'll tell you what. Right, I'm gonna have to start again
Please,
here.
please. I don't. Yeah.
It all started in 1993. I fell off at Gogarth in North Wales. It's a sea cliff in North Wales, for those who don't know Gogarth, where Gogarth is, and I fell 30 meters, ripping all this gear, and I remember hitting a kind of sloping rock ledge and breaking my ankle. Then I remember. Well, I don't remember, but I got wedged upside down, broke both shoulders, wedged upside down in this narrow crevice that was full of seawater. So it was like right on the ocean's edge, and in a place called Wenzon, where Dream of White Horses is. You might have heard of.
Yeah.
People might have heard of white horses, and so I'm wedged upside down, and I drowned. I absolutely drowned. When my friend, who was belaying me, it was just him and me in the zone. When my friend pulled me out 10 minutes later, having untied himself from the belay and scrambled down to me, I was dead. He couldn't find a pulse, couldn't find a breath. And I won't go into the ins and outs of that story, but too much, you know, like it did end up with the guy on the cliff top, but it ended up with Glenn kept trying to solo out of the zone and getting freaked out, and it was raining by then as well, and so he couldn't do that. It was in the days before mobile phones, obviously 1993, and then this guy appeared on the cliff top, and so Glenn called up to him. It's Glenn Robbins, you know, the Australian photographer. That process of dying, you know, I was in it. All I remember was being in like this warm garden and this light, fading light, and then bees buzzing around me, and it was just the most perfect moment of my life. The lights were about to turn out, and so ever since then I've not really had any fear of death, and it's just coloured my whole like life since 1993, I guess. But then this actual constant pain and epilepsy and passing out and stuff for the last 20 years has just taught me so much more, even. And that's what the Mountain Path is about, reflecting on the ideas of, there's basically six chapters or lessons, isn't there? Freedom, pain, the idea of pilgrimage, and fear. And I'm very happy with it, and I think it's my best book, but it's not a climbing book, I would say. It's got every chapter starts with a climbing anecdote, but then it goes into the philosophy behind the, you know, so what is freedom, what is the root of pain, what, you know, what have others said about pilgrimage. Yeah, so it's not, is it, it's not it's obviously not a how to climb. It's basically how to live your life in a good way, in a meaningful way, because of the mountains, or through the mountain. You know, I've done a lot of crying in the last week since a good friend of mine died. He was like my brother, and whenever anything like that happens, you start to question what it's all about, don't you? And you start these existential you start this existential train of thought, and then you just forget about it again if you're not careful, and go back to your mundane job, or you kind of worrying about finances and all this kind of thing. And but you've got to hold it. You've got to hold. It's so precious. You've got to hold. Unfortunately, fortunately, I spend such a lot of time thinking about death. And actually, I think it's really good to do that, because you can't. I'm sure that the way is not to just get too hung up. Obviously you've got to live in the real world, or you've got to live in the world that we inhabit, which is unfortunately full of mundane things like tax bills and careers and But with this COVID thing, that's what's going on now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
100%.
there's all sorts of amazing things going on now with this. Yeah.
With this devilish pandemic.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
No, I mean, who knows what's going to happen ultimately? But at the moment, there's some amazing things going on. You've only been doing this since the pandemic, haven't you? I mean, is that what prompted you?
I'm a child of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from drinking too much rum and whiskey and beer and smoking way too much, yeah, I actually managed to do something fruitful for the few people who managed to watch it.
Yeah. No, it's good. This is the first video podcast I've done. I've never even heard of such a thing.
Yeah, me neither. Before I started.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, listen up. It's been a beautiful talk. It's been really interesting. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and your life with us. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. For you tonight, for me lunchtime.
Well, yeah, it's like 8 p.m. 8 p.m. in middle of winter here.
Yeah, I could see that, buddy.
So
there's a light. There's a fire. There was a fire going on. I was thinking, like, why on earth are they having a fire in the house? And I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. Actually, it was 17 degrees though today, so it was actually a gorgeous day. But yeah, and it's a pleasure to meet you and talk to you, with you.
I really appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much for the talk. We're gonna kick in the intro.